So at this time, I'm your host, Bob Alexander. I'm a professional ring announcer. I'm a proud member of the class of 2010 Florida Boxing Hall of Fame. And at this time, it is my pleasure to introduce to you a gentleman who I like to refer to as the walking encyclopedia of boxing. I don't think there's a fighter or boxing person that he doesn't remember or know. He's been everything in boxing. He's done promoting, he's done matchmaking, he's been a trainer, a manager, just about everything that there is. Been a ring announcer, Steve? I don't know. Yeah, you have been a ring announcer.
And more.
Not as good as you. Play-by-play.
Not as good as you.
He's been a force in boxing here in Southwest Florida for several decades. And he continues to serve the community by training amateur fighters. As you see, a lot of them training here today, getting ready even for shows coming up in just a few weeks here in Southwest Florida. He was inducted in the very first class of the Florida Boxing Hall of Fame in 2009, and also currently serves as Vice President of the Florida Boxing Hall of Fame. Please welcome Mr. Steve Canton.
Thank you, Bob, the best ring announcer in the world. And I've been saying that from day one, and now other people are finally getting to hear the message. I also like to thank everybody who came a long way to Fort Myers to enjoy today. This is a special event. It is the highlight of the year for me, for SJC boxing team, and for the boxing people for the state of Florida to come here, not only find out who's getting inducted in the next class of Hall of Fame, but to reminisce, visit, see old friends and old people again, past inductees, new inductees, and look forward to June when we have that special 3-day weekend in Tampa. A special thank you to Butch and Kathy Flansburgh, President and CEO of the Hall of Fame. Tremendous job they do since the beginning. Thank you, Butch. Thank you to my wife, Beth, who labored over the sink this morning, making the refreshments and sandwiches. I stayed out of her way and didn't eat them all up. So you'd have them here today, and she does a tremendous job. Thank you. And again, thank you to everybody for coming out. I'm done speaking because the speaker that we want to hear is the great Bob Alexander. Here we go, Bob.
Thank you, Steve. Appreciate that. First thing we'd like to do is recognize the sponsors for the Florida Boxing Hall of Fame that make it possible for us to have that great weekend every year and have the hall continue on year in and year out. We want to thank our heavyweight premier sponsor, the Yerit Foundation. We want to thank Rick J. Vandergen, accountant, Medad Ronan, Bondi Boxing Gym, all the way down in Australia, and yes, he will be back for our ceremony in June. Just spoke to him the other day. The IBO, International Boxing Organization. Christopher Jason Young, great official, who I believe is here right there. Give him a round of applause. We're so happy to join us today. Thank you, Chris, for all your support. I want to thank the Jupiter Boxing Club, the WBO, World Boxing Organization, Rick Bays, who many of you know is here today, Gold Star Streaming, who has been instrumental in having our ceremonies every year filmed and put on the internet live. Frederick J. Levin, who's also a Florida Boxing Hall of Famer. Renaissance Gems, Legends Boxing Club, Jimmy and Linda Resnick, our resident boxing artist, Arcadio Castro, and Alessi Bakery for taking care of our cake every year at the Hall of Fame. Let's have a round of applause for all those great sponsors. At this time, also, I want to recognize some folks that are here today. First off, I want to start with the Florida Boxing Hall of Fame Board of Directors. This is a year-long job. This is not something that you do for a couple months, put it away, and then look for next year. It is year-round. There's so many details and so much work that has to be done. And it is a tremendous group of people, and I do want to recognize them. Steve mentioned before our president, Butch Flansburgh, who's here. Butch. Steve Canton, our vice president. Our CFO, who I will say this forever, I know she doesn't like me to, but she's the guts and glue that holds this whole thing together, Kathy Flansburgh. have a tremendous representative as our corporate governance director, and that is Dr. Mel Horado. We have a couple of gentlemen that weren't able to be with us today. Our fundraising and sales coordinator, John Dodano, who is a 2011 inductee into the Hall of Fame. Our historian is 2010 Florida Boxing Hall of Fame inductee, Enrique Encinosa. We have our official physician, the world-renowned 2009 Florida Boxing Hall of Fame inductee, Dr. Alan Fields, is here. And some guy named Bob Alexander who does media and public relations. Some other VIPs that are here with us that we want to thank for being along for the ride today. We want to thank a young lady who has been a long-time volunteer for the Florida Boxing Hall of Fame. She holds a position as the head of inquiries for IBRO, which is the International Boxing Research Organization, and she does a fantastic job. We're very happy to have Carol Meyer here with us today. Raise your hand, Carol. Behind the food over there, in the orange. We also have former boxer for SJCboxing, Herling Lopez is here today. Herling, raise your hand. There you are. We have another young man who nobody seems to recognize anymore because he's got so much hair. Former boxer and also a member of the U.S. military that we're very proud of, Oscar Montilla. Oscar. There you go. I also want to recognize a gentleman who is here who worked with Steve back several years ago promoting fights in the Punta Gorda area. And boy, I tell you what, if all of us can get to 89 looking as good as this guy does, we're going to be really lucky. Charlie Pichette. Charlie? Okay, we also have a longtime SJCboxing sponsor who's with us today. We're very happy he's here. Phil Spencer is here. Thank you, Phil. We have a young man who you're going to see a lot of. He has a familiar name, and I think you're going to get used to it as he starts his pro boxing career. He's out of Daytona Beach, and he's going to be turning professional this month. He had a tremendous amateur career, winning world and national championships as an amateur, as a 160-pounder. He's going to represent the state of Florida very well as a pro. Glenn Hagler is here today. Glenn? Good luck on your pro debut, Glenn. And we also have some former inductees that are here joining us today, and we're always thrilled whenever we can get any of our past classes to come join us for events like these, and we appreciate them making the trip here. We want to thank, from the class of 2014, boxing writer extraordinaire Santos Perez here today. We also have, from the class of 2014, historian and boxing writer Don Cogswell. From the class of 2015, still wet behind the ears after getting his ring, great boxing judge Mike Ross here today with us. And this young fellow is just as nimble and spry as anybody I've seen in my lifetime, and we're so thrilled he's here. From the original class of 2009, long-time boxing trainer, the one and only Jimmy Williams is with us today. 89 in July. And this young man snuck in as we were in the middle of our ceremony, but we are certainly glad he's here. As I mentioned before, does a great job as our fundraising and sales coordinator. He is a 2011 inductee into the Florida Boxing Hall of Fame. He's also president of the International Boxing Organization, the one and only John Dodano. John, congratulations. Okay, as they say in our business, time for the main event. It's time to reveal the names of the folks that are going to be inducted into the Florida Boxing Hall of Fame in June up in Tampa. And we know a couple of them are here, so when we call those folks' names, we're going to invite them just to come up and wave. They don't have to give a speech if they don't want to. Well, maybe a few words. But we'll invite them up, the ones that are here, and we're very, very happy that some were able to make it. Okay, we have an SJC heavyweight that just also showed up. Fred Bombash from Miami. We want to say hi to Fred and thanks for coming today, Fred. Great to have you. All right, here we go. We're going to start off with our fighters. This gentleman fought 14 world champions in a long career that spanned a total of 3 decades. In that career, he won world championships as a featherweight, super featherweight, and lightweight. In 1982, he challenged champion and Florida Boxing Hall of Famer Aaron Pryor for the junior welterweight title in front of 23,000 fans in Miami's Orange Bowl. In what was probably the greatest fight in Florida history, he was stopped in the 14th round. He was inducted in the International Boxing Hall of Fame in 1992. His final record stands at 82 wins, 8 losses, 65 wins by way of knockout. Passed away in July of 2009. The Florida Boxing Hall of Fame welcomes to the class of 2016, 3-time world champion Alexis Arguello. One of the best ever from the country of the Bahamas, had a short but spectacular amateur career, a 2-time national and all-Caribbean champion. Came here to Fort Myers to join the SJC gym. He became a local favorite, fighting in Fort Myers and Punta Gorda numerous times. Won belts in the middleweight division, like the Florida State, IBC Continental, NABO Middle, and Super Middleweight champion. And he also became a world champion in his home country, winning the IBO Middleweight Championship. He was the #1 contender for Joe Calzaghe's title for a long time, but was unjustly denied a shot at Calzaghe. He retired after having to deal with a serious lung disease, but we're glad to say he's recovered and doing very well. His final record, 29 wins, 4 losses, 15 wins by way of knockout. He lives in Southwest Florida in Lehigh Acres and continues to be active in our community. The Florida Boxing Hall of Fame welcomes to the class of 2016 former middleweight champion Freeman the Natural Barr.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I want to give thanks to Butch, his wife Kathy, and most of all my trainer, Steve Campbell, who has been with me from the start to the finish. We have been through some hard times, when we struggled through my sickness. I have fought in the ring with the sickness many a times, but I have never given up. I want to thank John for giving me a shot at the IBO world title, and I did appreciate that. And one thing I never had a chance to do was to fight for the WBO title against Joe Calzaghe. And that's one I'm going to put on my legacy before I retire. But I just want to say I appreciate what I have done for boxing, and now I'm finished with it. So thank you all for coming
out. One of the most talented and recognized names in the last 30 years. He was a highly decorated amateur. He turned pro in 1980. He went on to win world titles in the super featherweight, lightweight, and super lightweight divisions. His list of opponents reads like a who's who of boxing. Florida Boxing Hall of Famers Roberto Duran and Howard Davis Jr., along with Julio Cesar Chavez and Sugar Ray Leonard, among others. He lived in Florida for many years, establishing a training camp outside of LaBelle. He finished boxing with a final record of 79 wins, 6 losses, 3 draws, 38 wins by way of knockout. Tragically lost him in 2012. Also this year, in the same month, he will be inducted in the International Boxing Hall of Fame in Canastota in June. Former 3-time world champion Hector Macho Camacho. This gentleman made history in 1980 by becoming the first ever pro fighter to win the World Cruiserweight Championship. He would later go on and win a second Cruiserweight Championship, becoming the first fighter to be recognized as a world champion by 2 different organizations. He showed true championship character, fighting in 7 foreign countries on 3 continents, often in the opponent's backyard. He is also the subject of an amazing book, Warrior in the Ring. In 2014, the book was published, and as a matter of fact, I promised him that I would make sure everybody knew about it. Here it is. And he's here with the book, and we'll be happy to sign one for you if you want one. Finished with boxing with a final record of 45 wins, 13 losses, and 5 draws. Despite his Montana roots, he has lived in Florida for several years and always reflects on boxing with a lot of pride and passion, and you can see it because he brought along a little trinket with him that he won back in 1980. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the former Cruiserweight Champion of the World, inductee into the Florida Boxing Hall of Fame Class of 2016, the one and only Marvin Camel.
By the sound of this microphone, I think I've been sabotaged because it's going in and out. And they didn't want you to know the real record of Marvin Camel. But anyway, being on a conversation site, I am from the state of Montana, become the first world champion for the state of Montana in history. And also, the good thing about the Cruiserweight division for me and my weight class at that time, that the WBC recognized the Cruiserweight division when I was fighting, light heavyweight, put me #1 in the world, and I become the first world champion of the WBC. With the winning of the world titles, you also lose them. I lost the WBC title, but came back and got recognized as #1 in the world, and when the IBF recognized the Cruiserweight division, they put me in line for the first world title fight, and which I had in Halifax, Nova Scotia, knocking the guy out in 3 rounds, becoming the first champion of the IBF. Now I am known as the unique. There's only one boxer in history that has done what I have did, and that's becoming the first world champion of 2 different commissions. And if it wasn't for people like you, the boxers, the fans, I probably would have retired after my first loss as a world champion. But staying with the program, learning the trade, becoming familiar with all people, different walks of life, I have achieved, and now I've become a historian. I am recognized as the only boxer in history that has become the first world champion in 2 different commissions. And it's all because of you people. Thank you.
Congratulations, Marvin. We'll see you soon. This gentleman fought in 21 main events at the famed Madison Square Garden in New York, more than any other fighter. Turned pro in 1940, won the lightweight title in 1942. Fought the best lightweights of his day, including Henry Armstrong and Ike Williams. Final record, 88 wins, 24 losses, 5 draws, 43 wins by way of knockout. In case you're not a quick mathematician, that's 117 professional fights. After boxing, he moved down here to Florida. He worked at the Fontainebleau Hotel on Miami Beach. He also trained fighters at the legendary 5th Street Gym for Florida Boxing Hall of Famer Angelo Dundee. He was inducted in the International Boxing Hall of Fame in 1991. Before his passing in 2000, he was also a special guest of honor at an sjcboxing event in Punta Gorda, thanks to Steve Canton. The Florida Boxing Hall of Fame welcomes to its class of 2016 former world lightweight champion Bo Jack. This gentleman hails from Jacksonville, Florida, a stellar amateur. He won the U.S. National Heavyweight title, and in 1988, he won the Olympic gold medal at the Seoul Olympic Games. He turned pro in '89. He won the WBO heavyweight title over Francisco Damiani, knocked out Tommy Morrison before losing an upset to Larry Holmes. But he fought many world champions of his day. Final record, 36 wins, 7 losses, 1 draw, 26 wins by way of knockout. Also fought as a kickboxer and MMA fighter. The Florida Boxing Hall of Fame welcomes to the class of 2016 former heavyweight champion, Merciless Ray Mercer. A top light heavyweight in the 1970s, he'll be forever linked with his older brother, former heavyweight contender, Jerry. Fought as a pro for 13 years. He was a mainstay for several years here in the state of Florida, fighting often in Miami and Orlando. He challenged for the light heavyweight title in 1972. He was stopped by all-time great champion Bob Foster. He had a final record of 62 wins, 13 losses, 6 draws, 16 wins by way of knockout. Sadly, we lost him in 2006. The Florida Boxing Hall of Fame welcomes to its class of 2016 former light heavyweight world title contender Mike Quarry. This gentleman fought out of Miami, winning championship belts in 4 weight classes, including the IBF Intercontinental Feather, USBA Super Bantam, and the WBC Feckerbox Flyweight Championship, and finally the WBC World Super Flyweight Championship. His impressive list of opponents included names like Jerome Coffey, Kennedy McKinney, and Philip Holliday. Stepped out of boxing with a record of 37 wins, 8 losses, 22 wins by knockout. Still a resident of Miami and a very popular figure down that area. The Florida Boxing Hall of Fame welcomes to the 2016 class former Super Flyweight World Champion, Sugar Baby Rojas. Now we move on to our trainer category. This gentleman lived in Miami for 26 years and has been involved in boxing for 56 years. An amateur and pro boxer, promoter, organizer, program planner, gym manager, but he made his mark as a trainer in the United States, Central America, Israel, and also for the U.S. Armed Services. Produced countless champions at the highest levels and continues to this day in his 70s to work with Hollywood Police Department's rookie officers and also works with kids who have been bullied and want to learn how to box. The Florida Boxing Hall of Fame welcomes to the class of 2016 trainer Dave Marks.
I'm deeply appreciative of this honor. I have no words. I just so much appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thanks for being here, Dave. Moving on to the media category. This gentleman began his career in boxing as a journalist in 1974. He joined ESPN in 1980 as a boxing analyst on Top Rank Boxing for nearly a decade. Also served NBC for their Olympic coverage in 92 and 96. Since 2003, he's been the analyst for Showtime Championship Boxing. Also served as commentator for more than 60 major pay-per-view events and countless other broadcasts, many here in the state of Florida. He was inducted in the International Boxing Hall of Fame in 2012. The Florida Boxing Hall of Fame welcomes to its class of 2016 fight broadcaster Al Bernstein. This gentleman has been a boxing TV producer and creative director for 3 decades, produced shows all over the world, from the US to Europe to China to Dubai. Worked major networks, HBO, Showtime, ESPN, BBC, and Sky TV. In Florida, he's worked with countless promoters like Florida Boxing Hall of Famer Don King, also Warriors, among countless others. He's produced countless world title fights. He's also worked hand in hand with the Florida Boxing Hall of Fame and his company, Gold Star Streaming, to film and put live on the internet broadcasts of the Florida Boxing Hall of Fame induction ceremony, and he's there to film every weekend. But he won't be this year because he's an inductee, and very deservedly so. Boxing TV producer going into the Florida Boxing Hall of Fame class of 2016, Ira Glass. This gentleman spent 34 years as recreation director for the city of West Miami. During that time, he pursued his dream of working as a journalist and photographer for action sports, but primarily boxing. Published photos in more than 300 newspapers, magazines, and books worldwide. Many of his photos have been donated to a boxing museum in Brooklyn, but he still maintains a large selection that he shares with fans and boxing personnel alike. Hopes to help continue promoting boxing in South Florida for the coming years. The Florida Boxing Hall of Fame welcomes to the class of 2016 Boxing photographer, Jim Geswicki. A longtime Florida resident, as a participant, he's been a fighter, promoter, booking agent, as well as a historian who's a member of IBRO. His biggest success has been as a matchmaker, serving some of the biggest fight companies in the world, Florida Boxing Hall of Famer Don King, Dan Goosen, Banner Promotions, and currently serving as matchmaker of Rock Nation Sports. Well respected for his knowledge and versatility, the Florida Boxing Hall of Fame welcomes to the class of 2016, matchmaker Eric Botcher. Moving on to our officials and commission category. This gentleman started out as an amateur, later a pro boxer for 12 years. He started to referee while he was in the Army in World War II. His first title fight was the legendary Joe Louis-Joe Walcott fight. Went on to referee countless great fights, such as Tony Zale against Rocky Graziano and Sugar Ray Leonard against Joey Maxim. Also, the third fight between Emil Griffith and Florida Boxing Hall of Famer Benny Perret. He spent his later years on Miami Beach. He was inducted in the International Boxing Hall of Fame in 1994. That was 10 years after his passing in 1984. The Florida Boxing Hall of Fame welcomes to the class of 2016, referee Ruby Goldstein. A lifelong fan of boxing who trained to be a judge in Miami under the leadership of Florida Boxing Hall of Famer Alvin Goodman. Judged his first bout in 1982, was promoted by Florida Boxing Hall of Famers Gabriel Ortiz and Hank Kaplan. He worked over 2,000 shows from Key West to Pensacola. He's currently the longest active serving judge in the state of Florida. He judged 47 world title fights on 5 continents, 7 countries, and 9 states. And he's worked for every major boxing organization in the sport. The Florida Boxing Hall of Fame welcomes to the class of 2016, boxing judge Rick Bays.
This is the pinnacle. This is the high point of my career. I just want to thank the whole selection committee. I'm not going to name them all. I'll say that for June. Thank you all.
This lifelong Pensacola native began his career in boxing as an amateur, winning the National Junior Olympic title after joining the U.S. Army. He represented the Army in the 1976 Olympic trials. In 1988, he became a boxing referee in the state of Florida. It would lead him to officiating on 5 continents and 45 title bouts. He also refereed one of the biggest bouts in Florida history, the third bout between Florida greats Roy Jones Jr. and Antonio Tarver. Florida Boxing Hall of Fame welcomes to the class of 2016, referee Tommy Timmons. A couple of other folks we want to recognize here in just a moment, but that is your class of 2016. How about a round of applause for all of them? Now, during our Hall of Fame weekend at our gala dinner on Saturday night, it's been a tradition to recognize some folks for all they've achieved in boxing by awarding them with the Florida Boxing Hall of Fame Lifetime Achievement Award. We have 2 very deserving individuals who are going to be receiving those awards. First one couldn't be here with us today, but he began boxing as a fighter, later became a very successful trainer. After moving to Florida, he would become a successful judge, later a well-respected referee. For the last few years, he has served as the Assistant Executive Director of the Florida State Boxing Commission, overseeing countless shows, also spending time mentoring young and upcoming promoters in a constant effort to better the sport. The first Florida Boxing Hall of Fame 2016 Lifetime Achievement Award goes to referee and commissioner Frank Gentile. And And last but not least, our second Lifetime Achievement Award goes to a gentleman who moved to Florida after serving proudly in the United States Army. He learned the boxing business from Florida Boxing Hall of Famer Don Hazelton. He worked as a boxing inspector for 3 years, was named chief inspector for the west coast of Florida for 5 years, but it was judging that was in his heart. In June of 1992, he began his judging career and has gone on to judge title bouts all over the world and worked for every major boxing organization there is. He also judges professional MMA and amateur Muay Thai as well. The 2016 Florida Boxing Hall of Fame Lifetime Achievement Award going to boxing judge Don Ballas.
Thank you very much. No, thank you, everybody.
So we just want to remind you that the Florida Boxing Hall of Fame weekend is June 24th, 25th, 26th in Tampa at the Intercontinental Hotel on Kennedy. It's a great weekend of events. We have an amateur boxing show, we have lectures, we have displays, we have the gala dinner, we have breakfast with the inductees, and of course the induction ceremony on Sunday. You can get tickets and ticket packages, www.floridaboxinghalloffame.com. If you haven't been able to come, I urge you, this is a great class and we are going to have an amazing weekend. And if you've been there already, you know that you certainly want to come back and do it all again. Because as Steve said, it's a lot of fun. We get to reminisce and tell stories. Some are true, some are not, but who cares? But it's just a great weekend and we always enjoy it. So at this time, what I would like to do is I would like to have Butch Flansburgh come up to the middle here. And I would like to invite the inductees that are here to join Butch. You guys can move off just for a moment. We're gonna get a picture with Butch because he's the president with the inductees that are going in, and then we're gonna get all of the inductees that are here from past classes, and we're gonna do a group photo. So if we could get the inductees that are here, Rick and Freeman, and I think Dave. Where's Dave? Oh, there you are. Okay, I'm sorry. Marvin, where did Marvin go? There he is. He's hiding. Busy signing copies of his book. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Slide down just a little, Dave. Let's get, yeah, let Marvin get in there, and then, oh, we got to get Don. Where's Don? Come on, Don. You're getting an award. Come on up and join this class. You don't have to talk, I promise.
That comes in June.
That comes in June, right. All right, I'm ducking out of the way. There's a shot. Everybody, get your picture, please. Give another few minutes, another minute or so. Let everybody make sure they get what they want. That's a little blurry, champ. I don't know. You're so fast. Is everybody good? They go they want? Okay, now, the former inductees from the past classes, please come up and let's get a group shot of all those folks. Come on, John. Doc, come on.
That doesn't blind anybody. Yeah, somebody out there wants to. Well, don't you dare. Not with his back. Okay, wait 1 minute. Rick Bays. Over here. No, not Rick. She's trying to get the picture, so I'm sorry. Right there.
Steve in here? Where'd Steve go?
Steve.
Steve, get over here, please.
He's talking. He's so busy talking. I can't believe it. Okay, Don's at the end and Santos, somebody's, there we go. All right,